What is going on, everybody? This is Coach Coleman, Jesse Coleman, and you're now checking into Breakthrough Blueprint, the podcast where we help you tap into your full potential. And today's episode is it's a funny and it's going to be a real episode because it's my best friend. And when I say best friend, I literally mean over 20 plus years. Um, a lot of major life situations that has happened with both of us being included in a lot of that. And we work out every day with each other. We talk about a whole bunch of shit. So this is pretty much kind of like us pulling back the curtains of those conversations that we have, and just pretty much how we talk as best friends and and things like that. So without further ado, introduce y'all to my dog, my homie, Mr. Jerome Lanier.
Hey,
Jerome,
hey,
what is going on?
what's happening? What's happening?
Yeah, like again, this is gonna be a fun episode just for the simple fact of literally over the past 20 years, everything that you could go through with somebody, we've been through with each other. And it's funny because I also look at it as too, like when I teach classes, there are certain people that if they're in the class that I teach, it makes the class something a little bit more for me. So just like if moms or pops was in the class,
Yeah,
or if my sister or my daughter Kiela was in the class, it'd be something because these are people that the shit you talk about that I talk about in class, like you've been there for it. Sort of, two of the classes, I think two or three of the classes I taught you was there. It was like a special thing for me because it's like he's been through a lot of this shit with me, right?
yeah, yeah. I was thinking this morning as I was driving in, thinking about doing this. I was thinking about those days at Wendy's, working the night shift, and then us like making customized burgers and whatnot. And everybody we would get off, and then everybody go hang out. We get in the van. The van was legendary, right? That
The
van
van.
got us everywhere.
For y'all that don't know, my OG, my mom's had a Nissan, a green Nissan Quest. And when I tell you that van has seen some of everything that a vehicle could see, the stories that van could tell, like yeah, the stories
Yeah.
that van could tell.
Yep. Yep. See, I was thinking about that and then just, fast forwarding through everything, right? Like you said, it's been a lot. It's been like 24 years. And so, in that time you do get to experience a lot. Good stuff, bad stuff, like it's a lot. I remember we were in Atlanta and we had went on a trip and then we wound up getting, some not great news, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I remember times where like the first Michigan game, right?
yeah,
All the other stuff aside, like that very first game, like that was to be a part of that experience, knowing that you were a lifelong Michigan fan, even though, I'm a Notre Dame fan, it was
right,
still great.
right.
And then that last game, Notre Dame and Michigan that we went to where it rained like the entire day and the entire game. And like I tried to go get a pizza and I'm sitting there with like a pool with pizza in it, you know what I mean? Watching, and we got spanked that game too. We
Yeah,
did not have a good game that night. I had my Notre Dame jersey on proudly though, right there in the big house. So
yeah,
I'm surrounded by Michigan fans and getting heckled, and I took it on the chin.
yeah,
But just all those moments. I mean, Maddie being born,
yeah,
just it's been a lot. I mean, good stuff. Like I said, stuff that maybe wasn't as great, but just
yeah.
being there through all of it.
Yeah, and hell, even not just Maddie, like Kiela, my
Yeah,
23-year-old,
yeah,
you were around, you were around at that time, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So like it goes back, and even again, I laugh like a lot of the stuff that has happened, you've been right there, even just recently, where what I'm saying, we had a situation in Vegas when we were there for an event, and I ended up having to go to the hospital. You was right there, and I had to
Yeah.
tell somebody that because somebody was a little upset that they felt like I didn't let them be there, and I'm like, you got to realize I had my dog with me, like. Oh, somebody we've been through this shit before. Like,
Yeah.
I went to the hospital a few times and you was there. Hell, I went to jail a few times and you were there. Like it's kind of it's funny. It's like we kind of got like a protocol of when things happen, we know how to adjust, we know how to move. And I'm like, I had my dog with me. Like I was good. Like he was there. If he wasn't there, then it would have been a different situation. But I'm like, no, he know what's up. He was like, hey, when should I call the family and let them know what's going on? I'm like, not yet. Then it was like, okay, call. Like you know the people, you got the numbers, you got all that. So it's just a situation of we've been through so much together that it's like we know how to operate.
Yeah, and it's funny. I remember you asked me, you was like, "You got the number?" I'm like, "I got the number memorized. Like, I know mom's number memorized. Like, I know the house number." So yeah, I mean, again, it's when shit hits the fan. You know what I'm saying? We know what to do in that situation because yeah, we've been through it in a lot of different ways, and that wasn't. I joked about it that night, but it was like this wasn't our first time in the emergency room together. Like,
No,
you know what
it
I mean?
wasn't.
It wasn't the first time. It wasn't, so it wasn't. Obviously that wasn't ideal, right? But it
Yeah,
wasn't like, man, this is uncharted territory. It's like, no, we didn't kind of been through, a situation similar to this before, and
yeah,
so it's just again that comes with that history, that comes with that time, and like I always say, my friend group, like you don't choose your kids, right? Your kids are just
yeah,
your kids. But
yeah,
like your friends, the people that you choose to have around you, that is a conscious choice. And honestly, my friend group is the best choice that I've ever made in my life.
yeah,
Like I've got friends that because it's a collective of us, and so it started out as a much larger group, and as we
yeah.
kind of filtered through, people started going their own directions, their own paths. But at the end of the day, there's still like that core friend group, and honestly, I wouldn't trade that for the world at all.
Yeah, and I look at it like when I think about our, and I call it a brotherhood. It's far beyond friendship. Is and I tell people a lot that me and Jerome are total opposites, but that what makes things so right because I know I can go to Jerome about some stuff and he's going to give me a different perspective of it because we are totally opposite. And I just told somebody about this recently. I'm like, that's my best friend, but shit, there's been times where we've bumped heads and we haven't spoken and shit, but yet we end up getting right back there just because that's what happened with brothers. Like that's what happened with families. Like there are situations where you and your sibling or your cousin or whatever the case may be may not agree on something and then both of us are stubborn. Like we've
Yeah,
realized that we're both stubborn as hell, even being total opposites, we're both stubborn, and we had that time where we stubborn, and then we get right back to it.
yeah, and I think for me too, it was I had to gain some emotional maturity over time, right? I had to get some emotional maturity about how I went about disagreeing and how I handle situations because there was some times that just I had my ass on my shoulders, like I was just in my
Yeah,
feelings, and I think a lot of that comes from upbringing and whatnot. You know what I mean? And it's okay for it to have been like that's the reason, but it's not okay for it to stay that way. And so I had to get to a point where I had to maneuver better. And I still could have my moments,
yeah,
but I don't think I'm anything like I think I even apologized to y'all before for like what y'all had to deal with me in my 20s. Woo! Jerome in his 20s was an emotional wreck, like in terms of like my feelings would get hurt, and now I'm protesting. And I mean, it still might get that way over fantasy football every now and again, but
yeah,
outside of fantasy football, I'm not really that bad anymore. But yeah, we definitely have had those moments where we bumped heads, and that's gonna happen. Like you said, that's what happens with brothers. But at the end of the day, it just all comes back together. Like
yeah,
nobody knows me as well as y'all know me. You know what I mean? Because I don't even open up to people like that. That's the interesting thing too when you mention like the differences because a lot of times people don't realize if they walk up to the two of us, one of us is prone will have a conversation with them and the other one will have it begrudgingly, and the one that's having the conversation like but what will typically happen is I'm the more quiet one, but I'm the
mhm,
one that I'll engage in conversation. I'll talk to anybody about anything, and then there's times that you just like, man, I wish people would leave me the hell alone.
yeah. And that's why I said like we are total opposites, yet it works, especially in settings like that. Because and I think you hit something you said something a little bit ago about our upbringing and things we've been through where you know that's why we are how we are.
Yeah.
And we always talk about this where it's like I am the one where I don't talk to people. I don't do that because I have a wall up of like I'm not connected with anybody because of situations I've been through where I don't want to get to know you. I don't want to talk to you because that opens the door for a bunch of bullshit. And I just thought about it when you said that, about, you um growing, it made me think like, damn, we've been in this since teenage years, 20s, 30s, and now we just got into our 40s where shit, we've been through a lot of different stages of our lives together where we know that about each other. Like, okay, we out somewhere, somebody's gonna talk, I'm gonna have to be the one to kind of, go and get the conversation, keep it going because Jesse gonna be like, hey, yeah, I'm Jesse, nice to meet you, and then I'm done. I'm shutting down with
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. It's just straight deadpan. You will start to focus somewhere else, and the person will be talking to you. You're like, why are they not getting the message that I'm no longer communicating with them? But see, I've also gotten the opportunity to watch you like do what you do best because you are a people person when you got the people battery for it, right?
Yeah.
I watched that, in when we was in our 20s, we was going out like 5 nights out of the week. Like I watched you then like maneuver through a room. I watch you now and it's still the same, just greater, right? You connect with people really well. You provide a space for people to like communicate with you. You provide energy, you provide a spark. We was talking about that with family reunion, right? We're in Las Vegas and like you're not drinking. You haven't been drinking in I think it's about like 9 months, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, but people are asking you like, all right, where's the party at? Like, and it's not to say that one can't party without having some beverages, but it's still like most people don't really get loose until they had a little beverage, and you can go have a blast at a party and be sober as all get out and just be good. But
Yeah.
that's who you are. That's who you've always been. And so, just watching you continue to just grow with everything has been amazing because again, it's just who you've always been. It's just on a bigger scale.
Yeah. And I think that too, that plays a part of us, like as a collective, because we've both grown, and even other people in our, in our circle, in our crew, we've grown from where we were to where we're at now. And it's that thing of, you are who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
Where it's just like I saw you grow, and I'm like, okay, I need to step it up. And then you saw me going to a different arena and start doing it. Then you're like, okay, I'm finna step it up. So it's just kind of like that. Kaleo always says to shout out to Agent K, where you have people that pull you up, people next to you, and then people you pull up. And we've been that for each other, where you're pulling me up. Now we're together. Then I may pull you up. Then, like, where we're constantly
Absolutely.
going up that ladder together, and we're pulling each other up.
Yeah. I mean,
You know?
because even with being in a coaching role now, that was we were both in the same office. We knew it was going to be time for a change because we could see the writing on the wall in terms of some things that were occurring. And you made the move first, and then you encouraged me to make a move. And even when I was kind of like dragging my feet, you were just like, "Hey, did you call such and such? Did you have this
Yeah.
conversation?" So you just kept giving me that little nudge that I needed because otherwise I could have stayed complacent and everything could be a little bit different right now than what it is. Just because there are times that I need to be pushed outside of my comfort zone, and I just don't necessarily have the ability to do it myself all the time. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, and then it even goes to where, we work out together. You know, for you all that's listening, that follow, on social media, and you're like, damn, you know what I'm saying, Jesse, you lost some weight, you're doing good. And I'm like, well, a big part of that is Jerome, because when we make commitment to other people, we kind of hold up to that commitment more than ourselves. So if I know that Jerome is going to meet me at the gym, I'm getting my ass out of bed because I don't want to miss it. Now, if there's times where we may not make it, sure, but we've created that habit of doing it, that even if we miss a few days. Like last week, we were both in Vegas, so that was a week we missed. Getting back into the groove of things, it's still checking in, even if it's like, hey, I'll be at the gym in about 15 minutes, and then either one of us would be like, hey, I'll get that tomorrow. I'm just not feeling it today. But we still have that commitment to each other to show up. And for you guys that's listening or watching on YouTube, what is your circle like? What is your crew? Do you have people there that you can be committed to getting in better shape, to doing what you want to do on the business level, that's going to help push you and help keep you, committed to those goals, to help pull you up the ladder? You know what I'm saying?
And just recognizing, right, when we got to take baby steps to get back on track. Like, I think one of the best things that we learned how to do, and we did it this week, right, because it's still been rocky for me getting back into the gym. It's just been an up and down week for me just in general. But like, I forget what day it was. I think it was Tuesday. We got to the gym, and it was kind of like both of our first day back in together. We
Yeah.
hit like 4 machines, and we was in there
Yeah.
for 30 minutes. Where
Yeah.
typically, like, if you catch us on a Saturday, we're in there for 90 minutes. We done did like 15 different things. And we knew, like, it's just good to get in here and just get that routine back. And I think a lot of times, just with things in life, period, people fall off. And then they think about, man, I fell off. I used to do this, this, this. Just go, and you don't have to do it to the level you were doing it before. Just do something to get you back in the routine, because it's never about falling off. It's about how long it takes you to get back on track, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that I didn't go to the gym, 5 days this week. It's, I'm gonna make sure I get back in there, tomorrow or on Monday, right? So, and not pushing yourself to be where you were when you fell off, but just saying, like, I'm gonna baby step this until I get back into that routine. Because yeah, I mean, we getting up, we're going to the gym. It's negative 14 degrees
Man.
outside. It's, snow. I still got a video where it's like the ground hasn't been plowed. I got stuck trying to turn into the parking lot that one time because it was like so bad with snow. And, we had to, like, I figured it out, but like, that's how committed we've been, is like rain, sleet, snow, hail, freezing temperatures. We're in there because it's also like our therapy, right? It's
Yeah.
our therapy. I know for me, and I've said it. I said it to other people before. Like, I'm not very shy about it when it comes to this stuff, but like, I battle anxiety, I battle depression, and so if I'm not doing that, if I'm not hitting the gym, like, it gets worse. It's like,
Yeah.
that's the thing that helps keep it away, right? Because it's almost like in that time, it's like meditation, right?
Yeah.
Because you're just focusing on the weight in front of you. You're focusing on lifting that weight in front of you. You're focusing on pushing your body to do something different. Um, Number one, I would be remiss to not talk about the fact that when we work out together, your thing is always two more. And there's
Too
times I'm like, fuck, I'm tired. And it's like two more. I'm like, shit, I got to do two more. But to a degree, right? Like Gary talked about last week, the Masogi challenge, right? With that
Yeah.
challenge to do to change your life. And so, to a degree, that's what the gym became, right? Because it was just like, all right, let me just keep going. Let me, we do different workouts. We did that circuit workout that one day, which we haven't done. Well, I only did the one time because I think I missed
Yeah.
a couple Fridays. But like, that shit was a challenge. But at the
Yeah.
end of it, right, in the middle of it, you are questioning everything and you're just trying to get through it. And by the time you get to the end of it, you're just super proud because you're like, damn, I did that. And then when we go to the gym, it's typically like 5 a.m., right? So
Yeah.
we're doing the toughest thing first thing in the morning. So now I'm riding that wave. And then I just ride that wave through until like the energy from the rest of the day can pick me up. Because sometimes in the morning, especially first thing in the morning is usually the toughest time because I'm thinking about a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. I'm either thinking about
Yeah.
stuff that I can't change that's already happened. I'm worried about stuff that hasn't happened yet. And I just really need to be present and be where my feet are. And the gym allows me to do that. And having you as an accountability partner, because like I missed it this morning. And the text that I sent you, the first thing I said was, I'm sorry. Because
Yeah.
I felt bad not being there because I know it helps you to stay consistent with it. It helps me to stay consistent with it. Because if it was just me by myself, there's plenty of times that I would have elected not to go, but I'm like, shit, I know Jesse finna be on his way. Let me go ahead and get in this car and go.
Yeah. So I wanna unpack a few things that we were just talking about, because again, for you all that's regular listeners, I always want to make sure we give action items, and we give some things that you can implement into what you're doing. So the first part that I want to talk about is how you said that even, when we were just trying to get back into it, we was only there for 30 minutes. We did 4 or 5 exercises, and that was it. For you all listening, that is true for anything that you want to do. Don't let social media, don't let what you used to do or what you think you should be doing dictate, like, hey, motivation is fake, but discipline and consistency is what you need to be able to progress. So we had that discipline and that consistency. We know that, hey, we were gone for a week. Situations happen. We were tired. We ain't feel good. But that consistency and that habit that we created, just show up. Even if that means we only do 30 minutes. Hell, if you just show up and you only do 15 minutes on a treadmill, or you do 15, 20 minutes of stretching, you still showed up, and you're staying consistent with that habit. So for you all listening, if you fall off for something, or if you're just getting started with something, you don't have to go from the couch to a marathon. You can go from the couch and doing 15 minutes on the treadmill. You can go from the couch and do 20 minutes on the treadmill. You can go from the couch and do yoga. Or if you're talking about business related, for us in the sales industry, entrepreneurs, you can go from getting off the couch to talking to one person a day. You don't have to go to talking to 50, 60 people a day. But you want to create that habit and create those small wins. Because you talked about Gary when he was talking about it, and one of the slides he showed was the ladder, where it's like so many people try to make big leaps up the ladder and they can't reach the next one. But if you do those small steps up the ladder, you're creating those constant small wins, and that compound over time to where now you're off the couch doing the marathon. You're off the couch talking to 50, 60 people, because you built up those calluses, you built up that consistency of doing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And you built up that mindset because people don't realize when you don't do what you told yourself you were going to do, it hurts you a lot more than what you think. Right?
Yeah.
People think like it's almost like a victimless crime, and that's bullshit. Like if you don't do what you told yourself you were going to do, somewhere inside you stop believing yourself, right? Just a little bit. And every time it's more and more and more. And then you just stop believing that you're going to be able to do anything. So just giving yourself like little small goals, like you said, if you haven't done anything, getting off the couch and getting on the treadmill for 5 minutes is a win. I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what social media says. It's a win. And then now you just keep building upon that, because what you're doing is you're reminding yourself, like, I'm going to do the things that I said I was going to do. People who do it all the time with like laundry, right? People
Yeah.
will go do laundry, and I'm people, right? People will go do laundry, put the laundry back in the basket or the bag or whatever, and like, all right, I'm gonna put it away, and then it sits there for a day, and then a couple days, and then at some point you see it, you're like, damn, I forgot to put that laundry away, and then you still don't do it. But every time you see it, you're just reminding yourself that you didn't do what you told yourself you were gonna do, and so it's
Yeah.
creating this really bad habit inside of your brain, and like the brain is a very powerful thing. Like you creating
Yeah.
habits one way or another, whether you realize it or not, and those habits can hurt you or they can help you. And so it's just holding your word to yourself. People
Yeah.
they don't generally have a problem holding their word to other people, but it's the thing that they tell themselves when they don't do it. They're like, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it another day. All you're doing is just telling yourself like, I'm not going to do the things that I said I was going to do.
Yeah. And to that point, we are it's funny because we are our own worst critics, and we are very lenient with ourselves.
We're the
Like
worst accountability partner.
we are the worst accountability partner, because we bash ourselves so much and we let ourselves off the hook so much.
Yep.
Like it's one extreme or the next. You know what? You out of shape. You don't look good in those clothes. Blah blah blah. And then it's okay. You can eat that Snicker. You can miss the gym. You're tired.
Treat
Like
yourself.
we are our own worst enemy. And then again, like you said, of having somebody else where they're being truthful with us, they're letting us know what's up. That, like, you always let me know, hey, yeah. you fucked up with this. This is bullshit. Or it's like, hey, no, you're going a little bit too far. Like, don't put all that on you because it's not on all on you, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then the second part of what you said, going back to the conversation where you talked about how us working out is therapy, and I remember at one point in time, right? And me and Jerome have the same coach. So let me say this: I don't care what industry you're in, I don't care what you're doing, you need a coach.
Absolutely.
You need somebody that has a helicopter view of what's going on because you are entrenched in things. You're in there. You can see only what's in front of you to the side of you. A coach can see in front of you, beside you, behind you, 10 miles down the road, 10 miles behind you. Like they can see all of that. So I say that to say me and Jerome has the same coach. And I was telling her, like, man, me and Jerome been, we've been working out harder. And I'm like, I've been going crazy where I've been beating myself up in the gym. And she like, what's the problem? I'm like, okay, there's something wrong with that. Like I literally been going in. She like, well, I'd rather you beat yourself up in the gym than do some other shit.
Yeah.
And when you talk about like for us, that's kind of like our therapy. It is like we get in there, we talk about everything, and yet we moving that weight. We pushing sleds, we doing burpees, we doing chest. I'm very proud of because I was working out. I was on a more of a fitness journey before you started because hell, I was at one point 315 pounds. Like I had to get some stuff together. So I was more like on a fitness journey before you, and then I remember vividly you end up joining a powerlifting gym, and you was doing your thing, and then you end up transitioning to the gym that I'm at, and just seeing you from the beginning of what hard work and consistency does to where you're at now, where it'd be funny when somebody that's not a regular in the gym come in and we're doing chest or we're doing back, and they see you moving weight.
And
And
they're like,
they were like,
what?
"Oh, damn!"
Yeah.
They were like, "Damn!" And when I say moving weight, I mean you're not doing like one rep PR. You're
No.
doing 5, 6 reps, and then I jump in like 2 more to push it up to 8. It'd be sometimes I'll say, "Okay, last one." You be like, "Nah, I'm going." So just seeing the journey of again having somebody there with you to push you because that's what it's all about, pushing each other, but
Yep.
also having that commitment to each other to make sure we show up because we know it's therapy for each other.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
We know it's that, right?
Yeah. It
So
Well, just to add to that, I mean, it's just it again to start the day because not everybody is a morning person for the gym. But I mean, man, I couldn't think of anything better to do in the morning than to go do something really difficult. And to your point, I love when it's like newer people in the gym, and I can always tell because they see me, right, and I'm tall and slender, so they see me and they're like, oh, but then that weight started moving, and then you can tell they're like, oh shit, like yeah, yeah.
yeah, we be in there moving that weight, and it again, I love that because it's a testament to us showing up. And here's the thing I want you all listening to realize where it is not perfect. Like so don't think that we have it all figured out and it's perfect. No, it's just about still showing up because it's though like you said, it's those days where we just our body just like, all right, nah, you can't make today.
Yeah.
Or we're mentally in a place of I know I need to go, but I just need this day off. And that's okay. But guess what? We're right back in there the next day. So I don't want you to think that you have to be in there 7 days a week. And if you miss one day, you failed. The only way you fail is if you just completely stop. You're going to have days that you're going to miss. You're going to have days that you're out of town. You're going to have days that your body says, no, you need a break. So don't get what we're saying misconstrued, or twisted as to it's going to be perfect because it is not going to be perfect at all.
No. And again, it's just about shortening that time, right? When things fall off track, and that's working out or anything that you do, is just shortening that time frame of it fell off track to I'm doing it again, right? Just shortening. What does that period of time look like? For some people, it could be a year, it could be 2 years, where it's like if you could really just get that down to, you know what, I haven't been great for the past week, I haven't been great for the past month. Like this month, I'm pushing today to get my rings closed so I can get my award for the month on my watch. But it came down to the last day, right? But it's like I know February was not a great month just in terms of being gone for like a week to
Yeah.
Vegas and some other things in between. But I'm right back at it. Like I'm already thinking about tomorrow. I'm like, okay, tomorrow morning I don't have anything to do. Should be able to get into the gym and just have one of those days where we can just float around and kind of hit whatever we want to hit. And so again, it's just shortening the time instead of being consumed with the fact that I did not have a great month. It's just like, all
Yeah.
right, how soon can I get right back to
Yeah. Yeah. I want to pivot a little bit,
it?
because again, we've known each other for a long time, and we've done a lot of, lot of things. What a lot of people don't realize is, and I've told some people, is that actual intro to this podcast, that actual intro, ladies and gentlemen, is a song that I created. Shout out to Fresh Boy for doing the beat. And what a lot of people don't know, and our coach just found out this like last week or so, is me and Jerome used to have a record label. And when I say had a record label, I made legit EIN number, trademark, bank accounts, studio. We've done it all, and a lot of people be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it!" Like, no, again, it was a fun time. Like, we had a studio in my parents' basement. And when I tell you I am grateful for my parents, because we had about, sometimes we probably had about 15, 20 dudes in the basement.
Man, I ain't never referred to them other than anything as mom and pop, and I love mom and pop. I love them for so many reasons, but I remember those nights. Either it'll be like a studio night or it'll be like a night after we went out to the club. We would come back and it would be like just mattresses just laid out on the floor. It'd be people on couch cushions just sleep on the floor, and like they just wanted to know that we were safe,
Yeah.
right? That was it. They just wanted to know that we were good. Like we coming in and we coming down the stairs and we
Yeah.
going in the basement and it's like 6 or 7 of us down there and everybody just sleep in their own little corner, and it was always just love. It's
Yeah.
always been love. I mean, we didn't traveled, family wise. We didn't
Yeah.
traveled and took cruises and vacations and whatnot together. It has always been like it's always been love. And I remember there was a moment with Pop where Pop like some trouble had happened, and I don't know if you've ever talked about it on the show or not, so I ain't gonna necessarily bring it up. But some trouble had occurred where it gave some limitations on being able to move around a little bit.
Yeah.
And Pop was like, I just wanted to kind of see like who's still gonna do what.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was still just like, man, we in the basement, we chilling, we hanging out. And I know that was like the moment where he was like, all right, you good.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those that's listening, y'all know I'm very transparent and honest. I had got into some trouble, and you know, I had two options. I could either go sit down
Yeah,
for 2, 3 years, or I can do, house arrest for about 1 or 2 years, something like that. And yeah, Jerome and a very few, limited few of other people showed up consistently. I couldn't even go outside the house. Like, it was the times where we would have a chair at the back door, and I would sit at the back door and the inside, and everybody else is in the backyard, and we just kicking it like we usually do.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I still got a picture of you sitting in the chair in the doorway because we was like barbecuing, because that was the thing. We always were barbecue.
Yeah,
Always were barbecue in the backyard. Like that is a tradition, is to go over there to the house, barbecue in the backyard, and then just kind of like hang out in the basement. So like, yeah, I mean, I was just, man, my brother was at home. I'm like, I don't want to go out and be at home too. So,
yeah,
we would just hang out, listen to music, whatever. YouTube wasn't as big then as it is now. We're like, we go on YouTube, see
yeah,
some of the party scene, and we were just waiting, just chomping at the bit to get back out there. And then it was crazy because when we did get back out there, we wound up doing it like bigger than what we were doing it before. Because
yeah,
that's when we wound up, kind of getting into a different party scene. I remember we wound up hanging out with like a bunch of different celebrities, and like
yeah,
we're getting bottle sections because one of us would go crazy with the bottles in the club. I'm not gonna say who, but like we got the section, we got the bottles, and like we were chilling, we were enjoying our life. And again, it goes back to me just I'm very thankful because individually I don't think I would have had those experiences because I'm a lot of things, but I'm just not that outgoing, right?
Yeah,
So to be around people that I knew cared for me, had my back, were gonna watch out for me, and that pushed me to get outside of that comfort zone,
yeah,
and that part is huge because there's so much that I wouldn't have experienced or done otherwise.
yeah. And again, that goes back to, you know, the common theme that we're talking about with this episode is like, who is your tribe? Who is your
Yeah,
people? Like, there were so many people that I didn't see for a year or two when I had to sit down, and you were always there. Reese was always there. Eno, Fabe, Karan, Lack, John, Mons, like our core group was always there, and just sitting in the backyard. I'm in the house, sitting in the backyard, and that's that. And even with that situation, you were there. Like, you were there when I got in trouble, and I remember very vividly. I couldn't see a judge until that Monday because the weekend, is no judge. So I'm I'm sitting down for the weekend. I get to see the judge that Monday morning. Jerome is right there. You was
yeah,
there with the young lady I was talking to at the time, which that's a different story. But I'm like, shit, she even showed up.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, that was something. But you are always there. It's one of those situations where, again, whenever life happened, you were always there, and that was one of the things where I'm like, this is my brother. Like, not just the good stuff, but when we are going through bad times, when we're going through struggles, we've had losses. You know what I'm saying, and we've been there for each other during those losses. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying, and like, it's not even like you're a part of the family. You and the other were part of the family. I go see moms and pops. They like, "What's up with the boys? Yeah, they coming over. What's happening?" Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just that family thing because we've been through so much with each other, and we continue to grow with each other. That's what's needed, especially during hard times. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I got so many fond memories. I remember when the Bears made the Super Bowl. I remember watching that in the basement, right?
Yeah,
When Michigan won the national championship, watching that in
that's
the
it.
basement with you and
Yeah,
Pop. Like, it's just it's been consistent, and it's meant a lot to where I am, who I am, all those things. Um, because again, there's something about having the right people around you that just kind of help you get through a little bit of everything, right? I personally, like, so I come from, my mother and my father got together, they had me, things didn't work out. My mom was really trying to like do a lot as a single mother, and she was younger. So she wound up, kind of like allowing my grandmother, my father's mother, to take me. My father was not where he needed to be in order to do that. So I wound up growing up as like an only kid. My grandma was raising me. And what the wicked part is when I'm seeing like, all right, my mom went and had some more kids, my dad went and had some more kids, and I'm sitting here single like the last dollar. And just growing up in that mode of being like that only child, to find my brothers, and that's no knock to my biological brothers, right? Because over time I feel like we've built relationships, and I hope they can get stronger. But like, to find my brothers in terms of like my tribe meant a lot. That meant a lot
yeah,
to somebody who didn't have that type of structure, right? Who didn't have those things going on around me. Um, so yeah, that meant a lot to me, and it will always mean a lot to me, honestly. It changed who I am for the better. Hell, the reason I'm in real estate is because of you, right? Because I was in banking. I was in retail sales, retail management for sales for a while. go over to banking, because I was with US Cellular. US Cellular left the market. I go to banking. While I'm in banking, I started listening to Bigger Pockets podcast. I started hearing about real estate. I get into the wholesaling thing, right? So I'm trying to put together a wholesale deal. Had a couple things, positive happen there. I'm getting a lot of bounce back in terms of the mailers. And you were like, why don't you just get your license? And I was like, you know what? Why don't I just get my license? And so it's the reason that I wound up joining with Keller Williams, was specifically because you were with Keller Williams. Like, and I don't look back at that, and not one of those things was a bad decision. So again, the people around you make a huge difference in your life, the right people and the wrong people. Because I mean, we've seen, people wind up in really bad places because of split second decisions because of the people they're around. It only takes a split second. A real bad decision in a split second can change everything for everybody. So I'm thankful. I am so thankful for the people that I have around me. Again, the people that I was able to choose to be in my life have not failed me. They have not failed me at all.
Yeah, just thinking about that, and I have to highlight something of being a part of you getting into real estate and you actually being a part of when you got into real estate, because again, we are two totally different people, that you helped me level up on being a better agent because you've always had that you was a manager at the bank. You was a manager at when you were in, working in the communication industry. You were a manager way back when working at Wendy's, where your communication, not your communication, but your customer service, your customer experience level was so much further along than mine that I was able to grow on the realtor side because I was able to watch how you do things. And we always joke about this of like, you handle situations so much better than I had to, like with stuff. Like I'm 0 to 10, I'm either 0 or 100, no in between. But being able to be around you and see how you navigate things, because we shared the office for a while
Yeah.
when we were at our other brokers, and just hearing you have your phone conversations with people, hearing how you respond to emails, it helped me grow. Like, okay, Jesse, you have to get better at your customer experience and your communication with people, because if you want to continue to have success in this business, if you want to grow, you have to get that part together. So I learned a lot of that from you. And I credit a lot of me getting better in that field because of just being around you. Again, being in proximity of you doing those things, being in the right circle, being around the right people, it helped me grow and become better in that, because we always talk about that. Like, I don't like listen. That is a gift and a curse because I don't care. That's a good thing sometimes because I don't care, but it's a bad thing because I don't care. Where it's like, oh, this is how you want to respond? Okay, perfect. I'm gonna respond like this. And you're like, no, can't do that. Like, like you can't do that. You gotta change how you respond to things.
And I'll say it's vice versa too, because there's times that I was way too like lenient on stuff or too nice with stuff. And I kind of picked up from you, like there's sometimes you just gotta just pop off a little bit and just kind of show people what they want, right? And so there's a time and a place for everything. And so sometimes you have to have those different levels. And I think I learned, from you, sometimes there was times that I just needed to be a little bit more firm in my stance on things. And so, I took that and I had to learn and grow with that, because you can be a people pleaser almost too much, and it's like, all right, you got to put your foot down, and so your foot would typically stay down, right?
Yeah.
So we had to work on you loosening up a little bit, and I had to tighten up a little bit. And so I think we both took some things and walked away, like, from that, especially that experience of being in the same office together. We
Yeah.
both got the opportunity to see some things and how we went about things and just continue to grow. And I loved having that office together. We had the big
Yeah.
screen there. We would have motivational stuff playing. We would have like
Yeah.
news going. We had just things to get us in the mode to do what we needed to do. And it was crazy because we started out together in cubicles in a room with no windows. And
Yeah.
all we wanted at the time was to have an office with a window. right?
Yep.
So you end up getting an office with a window. And so now I'm in, like, because I'm back at the brokerage that we started at, I'm in the office that we wanted to be in like the whole time in the first place. So it's interesting how that just all kind of works itself out in time. But it just all came through the consistency of the grind, which you stay motivated by, again, the people around you. That's what keeps moving you forward. That's what keeps pushing you forward.
Yeah, and I want to touch on something to that point because we both have to remind each other this, which is funny because we think the same thing, and then the other person will have to remind us of this, but yet it's one of those start we have to practice what we preach to each other. But you just highlighted the big thing of how us having this conversation, we're talking about how much we've gained and not the gap. Far too often, so for those listening, another part of the Breakthrough Blueprint is talking about the gap in the game. If you haven't read the book, I highly recommend you go get it. But that's another portion of it. And I just literally had this conversation with somebody last night, and I'm like, bro, you're focused too much on that gap, and you're not giving yourself credit for the gain you had. And just us having that conversation of how we, like you said, we went from little cubicles in a room with no windows to having an office together with a big ass, I think it was like a 70-inch TV in the window, then transitioning to where you're in one of the office that we we wanted just from the beginning because it was so big, all the windows, that we're getting to have that opportunity to be like, damn, the gain that we had from the beginning to where we currently are at is we came a long way. Yes, we have some more we want to accomplish. We have a lot more we want to do, but we have to give ourselves some type of credit and props for how far. Hell, let's take it even further. From you back being a manager at Wendy's, and at that time, I don't even think I had a job. I think I was just knucklehead doing this and that to make a little, making money,
Yeah.
and to see how far we came from that to now, like as opposed to a lot of people we know who things that turn out good for them, like we have to give ourselves some credit. And for you all listening, just think about that. Take account of where you were at when you first started your business, or go back further to where you were at when you were a teenager or in your 20s, and see where you are now. You realize that you come a long way. Yes, again, there's some more we want to accomplish, but we have to give ourselves some type of credit for how far we've came.
Yeah, and that's another one of those mental things, right? Because if all you focus on is what you don't have, then your brain is just like, I'm never gonna get anything, right? Instead of, taking time to like focus on where I was and where I am, right? And I think individually we don't do that, right? And I
Mhm.
know I individually I do not do that enough. I will
Yeah.
find myself focusing on the gap more, but then when we have conversations, it's really easy to focus on the game because it's easy to look back at those memories and those times. Like I remember when you was doing the medical supply transport. Like I remember you
Yep.
were right, and like to go to be where you are now. There's a tremendous amount of gain there, right?
Yeah.
And so same thing, like coming from Wendy's, working that night shift at Wendy's with the wraparound drive through, and
Yeah.
we making our own customized food at the end of the night because it's like, oh, we got all these burgers left. Let's take a burger and put it with a chicken patty and put it on bread. We're creating meals to now be, where I am now.
Yeah.
It's easy when you're having that conversation with people, especially somebody that's kind of been through the process with you. But it definitely is important to stay in the game because there's always going to be a gap, right? They create
Yeah.
new stuff today that didn't
Yeah.
exist last year. So you always going to want something. There's always going to be something more, right? There's never going to be enough. Enough is not enough because there's always more. You got to be
Yeah.
appreciative of what you gain, what you got, because there will be more for you. But if all you focus on is more, 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 it's a never ending journey and it's not a good one.
Yeah. And for you all that don't know, and for you all from Chicago, and you all that may not be, this Wendy's was on 87th and Stony Island.
It still is.
It's still there. And for you all that is aware of that, we were listen. I am very grateful that majority of our crew is still here because we've we've been some places, we've done some things where it's just like, gee whiz, like damn, like what were we think? We weren't thinking. So I'll just say that we weren't thinking. And that I just think about those night times. We'll come up to Wendy's. We'll sit there for probably like the last 45 minutes or an hour of your shift. We sitting there, we're chilling. Y'all finally wrap up. We outside hanging out. People pulling up. What's going on? We like, what it's like it was just so many situations that could have occurred
Yeah,
that it was just a wild time. Like when I tell people, like, no, me and Jerome been through some shit. We've been in situations. We've been places. Like it is, again, a blessing that we've learned so much and that we're still able to be here right now.
man. We didn't have places we thought we was gonna have to fight our way out. We didn't have places where things have gotten physical before.
Yeah,
It was part of the process, right? And
yeah,
I've said this before. I'm thankful for the time frame in which that I got a chance to experience those things because I think the landscape now is a lot different in terms
yeah,
of like some of the things that we were able to do or the situations we were in. I think things move at a very rapid pace nowadays. So
yeah,
it's a lot less conducive to that type of like experimentation in terms of like just being outside and the situations that we found ourselves in. Um, but I'm thankful because man, it was fun. It was some of it may not have been bright, some of it was very dangerous.
very dangerous.
But it was fun. It
Yeah,
was fun.
and I love this episode of the podcast because I get to really. A lot of people always want to know like backstories and I just really don't go into it because it's hard to just talk about stuff with trying to explain it to people. But having a conversation with you, somebody that's been there. Like I think about my birthday party when we were on
Out
the west
west.
side. Yeah, and and again, this is a fun. It's a funny story now, but I was having a birthday party. A guy pulled out a gun inside of the birthday party. Everybody would I had my back turned and I'm like, why is everybody running and diving behind bars and running into the bathroom? And I turn around and I see the guy pointing the gun, and then he ended up leaving, right? And then we end up outside, and one of our other friends, who we're not gonna say the names, right? He came back with um one of the biggest guns under a little shirt,
All this shirt he could find.
having sitting on somebody's porch, not knowing who the porch belonged to, with a big gun under a little shirt, trying to see whether if the guy was going to come back or not, or things like that. You
On
know?
top of the fact, we were a couple hours into this party, and this was like a little like private lounge. So like the drinks were strong. So
Yeah,
we're a little oiled up. I remember I'm telling him, I'm like, come on, man, come on. He's like, tall man, just get out of here. Just get out of here. And he's sitting on these people's porch. I'm just like, I remember because when that situation happened, I remember when the guy came in, I was already eyeballing him because I was like, man, this guy, he doesn't look like he came to party. And he just looked like, he was kind of up something. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he got a pistol on him. And so sure enough, he did. I remember we got separated. I wound up going out the back door. And it was a funny situation because it was like a fence you had to hop over to get out of like the backyard. And so this dude, it was this little dude that like ran to the front and tried to jump in front of all the ladies. And so even in the midst of all that, I'm being a gentleman. So I'm 6'8". I didn't grab this little dude by the collar. I'm like, let the ladies go first. And it was funny. It's funny because like there's a whole panic going on. People are running everywhere because not only did the guy run out the door, when he ran out the front door, he let off a couple rounds in the air. So the next
yeah,
even more of a panic. But I mean, overall, it was a good party.
yeah. Again, a lot of the things that happened, we've been through them together. Like that's one of many, many, many stories
Yep.
of just like us being there for each other and going through things with each other. Uh, I do want to talk about, because I know we talk about this a lot, of us dealing with, anxiety and forms of depression, and a lot of that comes from, past situations. And I was thinking about this yesterday because I've been thinking about that. I want to have my oldest daughter, Kiela, on
Yeah.
for us to talk, and I feel like that is going to be a interesting conversation, because there's still some things that we need to work through. But I realized that a lot of my way I am the way I am is because of how situations went. And for transparency, we were young. Me and her mother, we were 17, 18 years old, and still in high school when we had her, and a lot of things transpired from that. But I kind of realized that a lot of the reasons I am the way I am with people and why I'm shut off is because of that situation. We talk about this a lot, but what are some of the things that you're doing when you do get into that mood to
Yeah.
try to bounce back when you're in feeling having those feelings?
So number one, therapy. I
Yeah.
have a therapist that I talk to. I've had to switch a couple times. I'm like, if anybody ever tries out a therapist and you feel like the person's not there for you, switch. Right? Don't just say I'm not going to do it anymore. Find somebody that relates to you better. So number one, therapy. Number two, journaling. Writing down how I feel when I feel it. Number three, the gym. Number
Mhm.
four is it sometimes number four is number one. Sometimes I just need quiet time. I just need quiet time alone. Right. And like I appreciate that because you again, we've been around each other so much, you can tell when my battery is like not right. So like it was like the last second to last day of family reunion, I just kind of was like off on my own. And you just knew like, all right, his people battery is low. He just needs to get himself together. And usually I get a day to just kind of be by myself, even if it's like not even a full day. I go home after the office 5 o'clock. I just shut it down. I'm not answering the phone. I'm not looking at it. By the time I wake up the next morning, I'm a lot better. I'm able to kind of sit in my thoughts and process things and think about like, why do I feel the way I feel? So I
Yeah.
think therapy, journaling, giving yourself that time, that self care, and then
Mhm.
having people that you can be honest with about how you feel that are going to support you no matter what and help you, kind of get out of it. Because I think one of those things with having that anxiety and depression is that it does shut you down sometimes, and it'll shut you down at the wrong moment. Like
Yeah.
me and Lack, we had a situation where he had invited me out a few different times to come to his house for a few different things, and I would always say yes, I'm gonna go, and then the day would come, and then I would just start to feel like anxious, or I would just whatever something would come over me, and I didn't show up, and it got to a point that he thought it was like a personal thing, and it's like it's
Right.
not personal. And so being
Yeah.
able to explain that and being given the grace and mercy to be like, all right, if you're not okay, like you got to be okay, but like don't feel bad because what happens, you start to compound this shit, right? So I
Yeah.
already felt bad. And then I didn't go somewhere I was invited and I said I was going to go. And now I feel worse. And now it starts stacking on top of each other. So just being able to be honest, be transparent, right? But again, just knowing what are the things that trigger you and then what can help bring you back. And again, for me, it can legit just be quiet time. I just go home, just be in my own space, play the video game, right? I am not ashamed to say I'm pulling out my PS5 and that's it, for the evening. And then the next morning I'm usually up, refreshed, and ready to go. I found though it's usually a lack of water, a lack of sleep, or a lack of vitamin intake that usually has a lot to do with it. So just figuring out what's wrong and resetting yourself that way can help a lot too. Like I don't think
Yeah.
people give enough credence to getting enough sleep, getting enough water, and then understanding that your body is going to react differently. When you're in your 20s, your body is going to give you a lot of what you need. As you start to
Yeah.
get older, you're not getting everything that you need. You might have a vitamin D deficiency. You're not
Yeah.
just cranky. You lacking vitamin D. Like you need to take care of yourself. So just being able to identify those things.
Yeah. It's so I want to unpack a few things, because there's been a common theme for each episode that I've, put out, is that one, journaling. Everybody talk about, we have to get those thoughts out. You have to push it out there. Um, that they're, getting into therapy, talking to somebody, and being able to have somebody that you can that could give you a unbiased view, and they're trained to help with that. And me and Jamal talked about this, that sleep is so underrated. Getting rest. People feel like, and we talked about the hustle culture, quote unquote, thing, where people feel like for me to be successful, for me to be great, I don't have to get rest. No, the older you get, the more time stuff happens, you got to get that rest. Like, you have to do that because it plays a big part, and especially for us that work out so much. The only time that your body is going to do what you need it to do is when it's time to rest and recover,
Yep.
right? And I went to my notes that I took for something, and you hit it spot on when you were saying, like, sometimes you need that alone time to yourself. And it was a thing. A lot of you all know I am very big, and Jerome know this. I'm very big on Jocko, and I listen to a lot of things, and they talk about one of the things that they do when being a Navy SEAL and having situations where they detach, prioritize, and then execute. And that has been something that's been on my mind heavy of, okay, Jesse, bullshit going on. Detach, prioritize, execute.
Yep.
Detach, prioritize, execute. And that is with anything. That is with your kids. That is with your spouse. That is with your business. That is with friends. That is with, hell, social media. Like, whatever the situation is we have to detach, prioritize, and execute. And that's something that I am working on heavily with a lot of situations. So, like, okay, detach from it, get a clear mind, start prioritizing. So journaling. So let me take a step back, and I want to kind of match it to what you said. Of having that time self playing the video games, get recharge your people battery. You're detaching,
Yep.
and then is you're journaling. You're writing things down. Now you're prioritizing, and then executing is now you're back. You're ready to move on and get going.
Yep.
Right. So it's those things compound, and again, journaling is very big. I talk about this before, where it's like I was one of the people like, what the hell is journaling? Like, what type of, like, what is that? And now it's like, if I don't journal, so I haven't journaled in probably a week, and I can see the effect of that because I'm keeping all that shit internal. Where it's like you got to get it out, good, the bad, the ugly. You got to get that shit out,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Um,
So with journaling, I got heavy into that after I had lost my uncle. Frank was, for all intents and purposes, Frank was my dad, and I lost him very quickly in a pretty, like, it was just very unexpected way, and so that became my way to kind of like get through that. I remember writing him a letter, right, in my journal. I still got that journal, but like writing him a letter, and like now I go back and I look at some of my old journals and I look at some of the thoughts that I was having, and I'm just like, I can see the growth. And there's times I'm like, damn, I never executed on that idea. I need to go back to that because that was a good
yeah,
idea at the time.
yeah. I again, us being brothers, us being there for each other so much. I still remember the exact spot, the exact moment, the exact time where I was at when you called me
Yeah,
about great. Like, that is one of those things that I will never forget because how close we are and how close we was with Uncle Frank. Like, he went on trip with us. He was a
yep,
part of the barbecues and things like that. And the same way of with us losing Vo of, I remember the exact moment, the exact time when that happened, when what I'm saying, when my cousin Yvonne and my cousin Devon passed away. I remember the exact same moment, and you was the first person I reached out to. And I would say this: you were one of the people that told me to go see Yvonne too, because there was a situation where she had knee replacement or something, and she needed help
getting up the
getting into the
stairs.
she needed
Yep,
help getting up to the stairs. She was like, "Yeah, just go help." And I am so forever grateful that I did, because she passed away shortly after that. So
yep,
being able to to be there and help her and see her that last time. Like we've been there again. We've been there through some
Yeah.
shit, do some shit. So that's why we're able to help each other maneuver through things. Um, I know we're a little bit over an hour. This conversation could damn near go for a whole nother hour. But we'll start wrapping it up. What are some final thoughts that you would want to leave with the listeners, the people listening or watching that that's working on a breakthrough, that's going through some things?
Everybody is valuable, right? No matter how you feel like you might not be, whatever you feel like is not perfect or right, everybody is valuable. You have value to add. Number one. Number two, baby steps, right? Everything is not, I'm gonna jump off the couch and go do a triathlon. It's, I'm gonna start, that could be the end result you want to have, but you starting with, some small steps, and just take care of yourself, right? Make sure you're taking care of yourself, giving your body what it needs, and surrounding yourself with people that are going to continue to push you. Even when the mood that you said stuff in has changed, and they like, no, you said you was going to do such and such, so we're going to do such and such.
All right, everybody. This is Coach Coleman, Jesse Coleman. Thanks for checking into another episode of Breakthrough Blueprint, the podcast where we help you tap into your full potential. And I'll see y'all next week. Peace.